Hello, and welcome back to City Skylines with Splatt. Today we're going to be checking out the steps that I take when I am detailing out a city, and I'm going to show you some mods that you can use to make absolutely gorgeous cityscapes. So come along with me as we explore mods that can be used for detailing. So here we are continuing to grow the city of Odyssey and get our population up. We have hit the wonderful benchmark of 100,000 citizens in our wonderful city. And I have noticed that we are lacking in a little bit of university space. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of a university build today and detailing it out. I have a really cool idea for something that I want to put in. And as I do this, I'm going to be explaining each mod that I'm using, and I'm going to be showing you some tricks and tips that you can use if you want to use these mods yourself to beautify your city. So let's get cracking on. I want to put the university over here by this bridge. And I have already gone ahead and zoned in a little bit of a university district. I use the trick where you start drawing a district from an already existing university and you drag it around in a nice little line all the way over to where you want to add a piece of your university, and you just connect it in and then you fill in the area that you want. And then when you're done, you can go ahead and erase all of this, and what's going to happen is this university section here is actually going to be connected to a university that you've already started building in a different part of town. And that's going to allow you to continue to work on the beautification and the student population and things and get a 5-star university up and running. So we're going to build our stuff right here. And to do this, we're going to pause the game and we're going to take a look at what we have available. Right now, I have a trade school going. Eventually, we're going to be building the other ones, but I have this new unlocked building down here when I hit 5 stars that is a school of engineering. And this building is really amazing and cool looking. And we're going to drop one of these in. But we're not just going to do the School of Engineering. I also want to add something else in just to give a little bit more of a full feel. And so I'm also going to take one of these trade school med labs and we're going to drop one of those in as well. And they both look really neat and they're going to really lend themselves towards some very cool detailing. To get started with this, I am actually going to do a little bit of terrain management because this is a flat piece of ground. And flat pieces of ground are very easy to work with, but I like to try and give a little bit of height to my unique detailed buildings when I can. So the first mod that we're going to be taking a look at today is Extra Landscaping Tools. I'm going to put a link to every single one of these mods in the description down below, so feel free to check them out. What Extra Landscaping Tools does is it gives you tools that basically allow you to do extra landscaping. And we are going to have a little bit of a raised area over here by this off-ramp and on-ramp where the medical center is actually going to go. Now, before I get started, I want to make sure that this area is completely flat. So I'm going to use the level terrain. I'm just going to make sure that there aren't any unexpected dips that I don't want. We're definitely not going to have a completely flat area when we're done building, but I just don't want to have any unexpected flat areas that I have to deal with. All right, and now we're going to raise up some terrain. Now, if you use the raise and lower terrain, shift terrain tool to bring things up and down, you know, the left mouse button brings things up, right mouse button brings things down. But as you noticed, it's really dramatic, and just barely clicking is causing some really weird things to happen. And I don't want those weird things to happen. So we're just going to hit Control Z and we're going to undo all of this and put it back to where it was. There we go. So I go over here to my brush strength and I'm going to drop my brush strength down way low. I'm actually going to take it all the way down to 0.01 because I want to have a lot of control over what I'm actually doing with this build. And so we are going to add in a little bit of a raised area right in here. And all I'm going to do is just pull up a little mound about as high as I want it. I don't want it to be too high. And then I'm going to grab the level terrain and I'm going to right click on one of these rings where I think the terrain is going to be high enough for what I want to do. So I'm just going to right click right here to set the height of my terrain. And then I'm going to left click and just start smoothing this out. And now that I'm using the level terrain tool, I can crank the brush strength up quite a bit because I don't really have to worry about anything a little too high. There we go. Don't have to worry too much about anything weird happening. All right, and we're gonna do that with our terrain. because the medical facility is actually going to go up a little bit on a plateau above the rest of the structure, which is going to go over here. So let's grab the next tool that we're going to be using. I would like to give this hill a little bit more definition around the sides. So I'm going to be using a quay wall. Normally you would use quay walls along the edge of a river or a body of water to give a nice built up and man-made waterfront look like we've got over here. If we zoom over here, you'll see what the quay walls are doing. They're giving a nice decorative fronting to the river. But over here, we're actually going to be using the quay walls in the middle of the landmass. And to do that, you're going to need another mod called, I believe it's called the Quay Anarchy mod. Link will be in the description below. And when you do that, you can start looking up some of your quay walls that we have here. And I am actually going to be using a very specific one that I've downloaded off of the Steam workshop called the River Quay Rocks. And basically, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to turn off guidelines, and I'm going to just build a basic wall around this hill to give it a more defined shape. So we're just going to walk our way around. And you'll notice that I'm not actually using the curved button. You might be saying to yourself, Splatt, this is not a circle, this is ugly. What are you doing? Why does this look so horrible? Oh, ye of little faith. Fear not, I shall show you, for we have plans that shall make you great and wondrous, and you shall look at with awe. This looks ugly and horrible, doesn't it? It's not smooth, it's not round, but we're gonna fix that, don't worry. We've got another mod up our sleeves, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we do. We have mods coming out of our ears. We have up here under my UnifiedUi button, a mod called the Netework Multitool. This is also available in the Steam workshop. Link will be in the description below. I hope you're beginning to see a pattern with the links and the description and them being below. Anyway, moving on. When I click on the Netework Multitool, there is a little section in here called Arrange at Circle. If I click on that and I come over here to my thing, because I created this structure in a self-contained circle, it recognizes it and all the little nodes turn purple. I click on that and I can now magically turn this into a beautiful circle. And if I come over here to the very edge of the circle, I can click on it and I can kind of pull it down just a little bit, and I can even move it around to where I want it to be. And I think we're gonna put our circle in something right about there. Now, I don't know if this circle is big enough, but that's the beauty of this tool, is I can come back and fix it later. And I'm going to drop a circle in by pushing enter and going, bam, look at that beautiful shape. Now, this is a node nightmare. I do not need this many nodes, so I'm gonna go back into my Netework Multitool now that I've made my circle, and I'm gonna click the little remove node tool, and I'm just gonna go in here and I'm just gonna remove like every other node for now, because I really don't need this many nodes, and the game runs better when there are fewer nodes. All right, so we now have an actual perfect circle that is going to give us a raised area on which to build Yon Medical Center. If I use this little tool up here called, I believe is Toggle It, and I'm going to click on one of my hotkeys here to show the terrain, and I do not want this sloping to happen here. I want this hill to be a direct sheer wall coming down from this wall. So I'm just gonna go into my tools, grab my level it. I'm gonna click on out here, right click, choose this as my height, and I'm just gonna go around the circle and just fix this all up so that there is no weird terrain outside of the quay wall, but the quay wall is the base of the terrain. I'll even click inside the quay wall, kind of help it out here. We'll spread it just a little bit. You gotta have to fiddle with it. I mean, the terrain in this game is not an absolute perfect work of art, so we are gonna have just a little bit of fiddliness to do. But we now have, I don't know, what is that? A birthday cake? A bunt cake? I don't know. But we now have this ring upon which we can build our thingy. So I'm gonna grab myself a road. I just want a little 1-lane road for now because I'm gonna go rule. I'm gonna grab a dirt road because for me, I find these easier to see and remember what I'm doing when I'm just putting things in. I'll come back and upgrade this to something I would like later. And I'm just gonna drop in a little piece of road and I'm gonna go grab that medical center and we are gonna plop that sucker right in here for now. Bam, just like that. It doesn't look like much now, but fear not, ladies and gentlemen, we have plans for this medical center. We're gonna hit M for the Move It mod. That is another mod that we're gonna be using a lot today. Link, you guessed it, in the description below. Here's a little screenshot of what it looks like on the Steam workshop. Let's keep going. The Move It mod allows me to grab nodes, grab buildings, grab segments, whatever I want, and with a click of the mouse, I can drag these things and put them anywhere I want. and I'm gonna try to center this a little bit. I think I want to pull it back because we're actually going to put some stuff in front of it. So I'm just going to go here, something like that, and get that centered. Push M to turn it off. And yes, sirree, Bob, we have a beautiful medical center right here in the ring. Now, my plan is to have another little road coming off of the front of this, down this way, going through the little key wall that I made, and out to another road that's going to connect to our School of Engineering over there. To do that, I'm going to have to bulldoze a piece of this wall out of the way. And if you look, the piece that wants to bulldoze is much bigger than I need in order to accomplish my task. So pay attention. We have a little trick that you can do using the Network Multitool. I'm going to add some nodes in exactly where I want to put my road. So I'm going to go to the center here. I'm going to come down here. I want to put the road right there. So I'm going to drop in a node here, and I'm going to drop in a node here. And now when I go to do my bulldozing, it only takes out the space between those nodes. And then I can go back in with my little Network Multitool. I can go to the Remove Node button, and I can remove nodes if I need to. So we'll get rid of these two, and we'll just leave those at the end. And now I can grab these nodes, and I can move them around however I need to. So using Picker, we're going to pick that road, and we're just going to draw a straight road out of the front of the structure, out past the key wall, and down like that. We're going to put some detailing in around here. We're going to put in maybe some parking lots or some trees or things. We'll get things all set up, but this is going to work for now. We'll just straighten that out. All right, we are ready to put in the School of Engineering. So again, I need a road. And like I said before, I like to use these little rule roads whenever I'm just planning things out because they're very obvious and I know that I won't forget to clean them up later. And I'm just gonna go ahead and take our School of Engineering and I'm gonna just drop it on there. This is not where I intend to keep it because as you can see, it's sticking out into the river. I'm just dropping it on the road for now. We're going to grab our faithful Move It mod. We're going to highlight all the nodes and the building, and we're going to see where do we want to try and fit this thing in. Good. So as you can see, even though these buildings are kind of the same height, this one's actually just a little bit shorter. And just by putting it up on this raised area, I think it makes things match a little bit easier, makes them look like they actually belong together, I think. And we are ready now to start putting some roads in. Okay, so things have been moved around. I had to fudge a little bit to get it to work, but we are where we want to be. And we are now ready to put our road in. So I've got this one-way tree-lined road that we're going to be changing the style of trees on later. And that is going to run all the way around the structure. So this is another thing that you can do. A little trick here is that as long as you have Anarchy on, you can really use roads to your advantage to make sure that there aren't any like little bits of green sticking out that are unsightly, and you can use it to tie in buildings pretty well. We're going to continue to bring this all the way around. And the beauty is with the arrow keys, as long as you're dealing with like right angles and things like that, you can just select your nodes holding down Shift, and then using the arrow keys, you can just pull things around to where you want them to be. And you can use the mouse for like fine movement. Okay. So that's going to bring our road out. And now we are ready to add some parking into the structure. And the parking is just going to come off this one-way road that comes up. And if I did this right, goes all the way around. I think I'm going to have this go the other way, like that, just because I want everybody exiting the same way. And then we're just going to pull our one-way road off this way a touch, and it's going to intersect with this road down here, and it's going to come from this intersection, and I think I want to curve it around to there. We're going to have that intersect in like so. Perfect. So this area in front is going to be gardens and that sort of thing. Maybe a water feature or two just to be beautiful. And then over here, we're gonna have some parking. So let's do the parking. I love, by the way, the Find It mod. Link in the description below. You've heard the song before. Because it helps me search through all of the different assets I have. For mods and assets, I am up to over 4,500 at this point. And so trying to search through them manually would be impossible. but this mod makes life so easy. I just type in parking and I'll come in here and I find my 22-meter parking lot. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna drop this in like so, and I'm just gonna connect it right there. And then I have the ability to move this around or make it bigger if I want to. I think maybe I might even use a bigger parking lot. There we go. And then we're gonna grab the Move It mod and we're gonna see how far I can get away with squeezing this before the texture starts clipping. Right about there, that's about all we're gonna get. And this is just gonna run down to there. And I think I want to leave a little grass strip for some trees, just to make sure that the parking lot is not too unsightly. And let's go put one in on the other side. So we'll go back to our parking search that we did, and we will grab our parking lot lines and we'll just start popping these puppies in. And now we have a couple of parking lots that are starting to bring some life to our town. Let's go ahead and put some vegetation in. So I have another mod that I use for this kind of stuff. And this one is called Prop Anarchy. Well, there's two different mods. You've got Prop Anarchy and you've got Tree Anarchy. And Tree Anarchy is kind of fun because it allows you to put trees wherever you want, even if they're on top of other structures. And this particular one that I use gives you a tool that allows you to place trees just like you would roads. And so you can put in trees in a straight line, you can put in trees at a curve, you can even make rings of structures. It's actually a really cool way to go about what we're doing. And actually, I didn't put this in perfectly straight, so we're gonna... whatever, it's good enough. Okay, let's do some trees. Now we're ready to get started on the front of the School of Engineering here. And to do that, we have this big empty lawn in the front that I would like to make into a nice and beautiful, attractive area. And to do that, we're going to be using some other assets that we have here. So if I go over into my education campus area and I click on my trade school campus area and I scroll down here, I have a trade school fountain, and I think a fountain would look absolutely beautiful right here in front of the front doors to the School of Engineering. So we're gonna pop that puppy there, very nice. And we are going to use a little tool up here, another mod, link will be in the description below, called Bob. Tree and pop replacer. And the way this works is when you click on an asset, it opens up the following window. And basically it lets you check out each little piece and prop that is used to create the asset, and you can replace them with other things. I don't like these trees that are part of the fountain. I think the trees are kind of ugly, so I would like to replace them with something a little bit more attractive. So I'm going to go over here to the Bob settings, and I'm going to go, I don't want props, I'm going to click on trees to check out the trees that are available in this asset. And as you can see here, if I click on bush 1, it shows me all of those. And if I click on bush 2, it shows me these large bush / tree things. And I can replace those with something else. I can scroll through all the different trees that I have in my asset pool here, and I can put whatever I want. I could click on a giant redwood and do something absolutely ridiculous like that and change the giant redwoods. Kind of silly. But instead, let's go through here and see if we can find something that's going to look a little bit more attractive. We could go with the palm trees because we do have the palm trees along the road. I'm gonna scroll through these and see what I can find and pick a tree that I like that I wanna put in here. So I will see what I can come up with, and I'll come back in just a second and show you what I've got. All right, so after doing a little bit of research, I decided to go with these acacia trees. I like the fact that they have like some little flowers on top, but they're not too huge and obtrusive, so they're not gonna block the front of the building, but they do give a nice shape. So I pick out the tree that I want, and then I got this little green button here, and I go apply and save changes, and then I can close this down, and there we go. We now have some different trees that are part of our fountain asset. I don't like these bushes, so I want to change the bushes as well. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on bushes, and there we go. So now we have acacia trees with pink azaleas around them. Does that make sense horticulturally? No, it doesn't. But does it make sense in the game and does it look nice? Yes, it does. So we're happy with that. So that's Bob, good old Bob. Now, one thing to take notice of is that if you've used this asset anywhere else in your city, which I have in my other university district, this will actually take effect on every single time that you use this asset in the city. It's not just this single one here, but all of the assets in your city that are this way. So that's why I wanted to go for some trees that weren't too incredibly crazy, because I didn't want to mess up any detailing I'd done in any other parts of my city. So we got a fountain put in. Around this fountain, we'll probably end up putting a pathway or something just to get that to fit in. But over here, I had an idea for another asset that I had found in the Steam workshop. These things here, I love these things so much, and I've used them all over the place. I have these flowery passages that are basically pre-made walkways that have all kinds of decorations and beautiful trees and flowers and stuff put in. And you can pop these in along a road, and they become pathways that people can walk on as long as they're connected to a road. So I'm going to put these in like this. And I'm going to create, using the Anarchy tool to make sure I can get it to fit in there. It's not really going to be like a hedge maze, but it's going to look a little bit like a hedge maze when I'm done. And so every single one of these available tiles, I'm going to go ahead and just put one of these in. And the nice thing is these actually have an entertainment radius around them. And so they also work as a park. So you can use these to like connect, well, here, I'll just show you what I'm talking about. You can use these to connect walkways in your city together, which I have done over here. These flowery passages, instead of just putting a walking path through the center to give my Sims a way to get on foot through this neighborhood, I just spaced out my rows in such a way that these things are acting as gapways, and it just creates a nice little beautiful environment for people to walk through. I love these things. There's all kinds of different ones. So we're going to put those over here, right? Kind of a maze looking effect. And then all we have to do is come in with a pathway, and I'm just going to use a generic pathway, turn off all of our snapping stuff. And if I just come in here and put a path in, it's going to connect all those together and allow people to walk. And if I use the move it mod, I scooch that up a little bit, go back to building, I can do something like that. So another mod that I like to use is called the Surface Painter tool, this one here. I'll put a link in the description below for you to check out. And what this allows you to do is you can put concrete, you can put gravel, you can put ruined terrain, you can put fields, different kinds of surfaces to fill in where the grass is on the map. If you happen to overpaint by accident, like I do here, you can just use the right mouse button and it will erase it like it would if you were putting in a district when you were painting one of those in, or a park or something like that. Now, I do have this little bit of terrain here that the painter tool is struggling to get filled in, but do not despair. I do have a way of fixing this. I'm going to put it over here because I have another asset that I've picked up, and I've talked about these in my videos before, but I also really love these little planter assets that were made by Avanya. You can find these on the Steam Workshop as well. They come in brick, concrete, and wood, and we're going to go with a concrete pattern here, and I am going to just put these in to kind of fill in a little bit of space around our pseudo fake walkway thing here. And when I do that, they're going to drop some concrete in around the asset. It's going to help me to fill all that in. And there we go. That fills that in and just kind of turns it into a little bit of a walking, sitting, relaxing place, and puts some more trees in, which gives it a nice sense of height and accomplishment. And now I think we are ready to start adding in some more pathways around this fountain. Okay, so we've got our fountain put in. We got a couple of planters, we got some trees. I put a little bush in, we put some fences around it, and I think this is starting to look nice. We've got this thing here with our pseudo hedge maze kind of thing. And there's one more little thing I want to put in to decorate this out. Avanya also made not just the planters, but she made, in the fencing section, these terrace planters that I really like. I'm going to bookend this. Now we're going to take a look at this little blank area right here, and I love me some water features. So we are going to pop open our extra landscaping tools once again. We're going to grab the shift terrain, We're gonna crank the strength all the way down to the very lowest setting I can get, 0.01, and we're gonna raise the brush size just a little bit. And I want to drop in a little bit of a water feature, a little pond right here in front of the building. Now, before I do that, I notice I've got a metro line that goes under here, and I don't know why I didn't put that under the road. So I'm just gonna grab the Move It mod. I'm gonna click on the toggle underground view down here, and really quick, I'm just gonna cheat. There we go, that'll work. We're gonna leave that, and we're gonna go back over here, and like I said, we're gonna grab our terrain tool, and I'm just gonna right click. I'm gonna start dropping the water down just a little bit here. I won't be able to make it too incredibly large because it gets really thin up here, and because of the way that the water physics work, I don't think it's actually gonna flow over there. If I try to put water in, I think it's gonna stop. All right, so now I'm gonna click on my water tool. I'm going to click on a place water source, and I'm gonna turn the water source down, again, as far as I can get it. And one of the things about using the water source tool, a lot of people think that you wanna click where you think the center, so this circle that you see, this cylinder is where the water is gonna be produced from. And a lot of people think that you wanna click so that the cylinder is actually centered on your water feature. But actually, the mouse pointer is going to be where the center of the water source is going to be, no matter where that little shaded cylinder is. Because if I go from a complete straight up and down look, you can see that the mouse pointer is actually in the center of the cylinder. If you look at it from the side, it looks like if I click here that I'm placing the water source too far in the back. But the reality is wherever I click my mouse pointer is exactly where that water source is going to be. So I'm just gonna click right here in the center of where I want my water to be. And I'm gonna click on the water source, I'm going to drag it down and lower the water level until it's only filling up my pond. Now, this is going to cause some flooding. Water in this game is really weird. And so when you run the simulation for a little while, you are going to get flooding, and you just want to watch and just make sure that the flooding doesn't stay permanently, but that it eventually goes away. So here comes the water. It's going to start filling up. You see the flooding icons appearing, but just let the water settle and see if those icons go away. Okay, so give it a second. We got an icon here. Okay, icon went away. And it looks like that has stabilized and we are good to go. So now we have a water feature. I'm gonna pause the game again in front of our grade school. I'm gonna go through here. I'm gonna put some shrubs and some flowers and some trees around this thing. There'll be some benches, and I will be right back to show you what I've come up with. So I just wanted to talk really quick about one thing that I'm doing here is that I went through my assets to find one that was connected to stone, and I found this stone path prop that I really like, and I just want to show you guys what I'm doing with it. I'm using these tools that come with the tree and prop anarchy mods that allow you to put these in any way that you see fit, and I'm just curving these things around and creating a walkway that is not, functional in game, but it's going to look really nice once I get it all put in with some flowers and things around it. This is a really good way to make a little bit of a botanical garden type thing. And if you ever wanted to use the straight walkway path and it's not lining up for you, you can come here to the angles and you just use your mouse and just curve it around to the angle that you actually want and drop things in that way. And I find that works quite well. Very quick and easy to use. And then when you're done, if you don't really care for something, you can just use the Move It mod and kind of slide it around a little bit to get it exactly where you want it. So I'll keep up with this and I'll be right back. I decided to go with a little bit of a walking garden design with lots of colors, lots of different colored shrubs and bushes, rhododendrons and things. And I took the tulips and decided just to kind of blend these colors together and just kind of swirl them through. And yeah, I think that looks kind of nice. It's a very colorful visual site, and I would enjoy walking through there quite a bit. And then I put some decorative pear trees around the water, and then all we have left to do is to drop a few benches in. We are good to go. So I'm gonna grab the props. We're gonna grab some benches that we want to put in. What are some nice benches? What does this one look like? The liberal arts bench. Not a liberal arts school, but we can try it if the terrain that I put in will let us. It's acting a little strange. There's a nice bench right there. One of the things about using the terrain tool is that these things do act a little odd sometimes when you're trying to put props on the different levels. And so you're just gonna have to experiment a little bit and see where it's gonna let you go and where it's not gonna let you go. But we're gonna do our best to get some props put in. That's not letting me do one here, which is kind of odd. Sometimes it works if you go that route. It's gonna let me put that in if I use this tool. For some reason, the single placement tool doesn't always work. So I'm gonna click on this thing and turn that on, which allows me to set the line and then decide where in the line I want the benches to go. I'm gonna rotate that like that, go, and then I'm gonna build my line like that, and this allows me to come in here anywhere along this line, place some benches in. We're just gonna do that. There we go. So now we got some benches around the pond. I think we still want to put some benches in here. So let me go ahead and grab that prop one more time and do this. Turn this on. Yep, that. We're gonna rotate. Give it a hold down. Is it shift or control that allows me to go? Yeah, control allows me to rotate faster. So hold on control. Just drop a couple of benches in. That up. There we go. So now we got some benches. I don't like that one there. We're gonna get rid of it. Got a pond, got some flowers, got some walking paths. This is looking really, really nice so far. The only thing we have left to do is this little area here in the front, and I don't think I want to do anything crazy. I think I just want to put some trees in here. So I'm going to go back to my tree library. I'm going to go find those acacia trees that we used on the these acacia trees that we used for the fountain, just to make sure it matches so we don't go too crazy. Is that it? That is the acacia tree. So we're going to turn on the single. I'm just gonna pick some spots to just drop a few of these in. Just create a nice shaded lawn for our people to enjoy. Now, I've found that when I'm detailing, because I tend to look at my city a lot from a distance, so I go overboard a little bit with the detailing, and I tend to put things in too thickly, but that's because I feel like when I'm looking from too far away, I just don't notice that the stuff that I detailed is there. And that's kind of a habit I need to get out of and start enjoying looking at my cities a little bit closer in, so that the detailing is more enjoyable and I don't have to like fill it in too full. But like something like that, you can still see from pretty far away. All right, we got that in. Let's go around to the back of this building and see what we can do back here. So where this building meets up with the river, I want to put a key wall in, and I'm going to use this key wall over here so that it matches what we've already done. Beautiful. I'm going to grab the key wall. I'm going to turn off all my snapping, and I'm just going to grab the curve tool, and I'm going to go, I think maybe out to about here. Just start putting this wall in. When you're doing key walls along a river or the ocean, you definitely want to have the game paused, because the changes that you're making to the terrain are going to cause the water levels to fluctuate, and without realizing what's going on, you are going to flood the absolute bejeebus out of your town by messing with this. So I'm gonna go look along the front here to see if any land is poking up. I'm gonna just grab my extra landscaping tools. I'm gonna grab my leveling brush. I'm gonna turn the size up just a little bit, crank the strength up, right click down here at the seabed to get the right terrain height, and then I'm just gonna gently come along here and just make sure that none of these little pieces of stone stick out above the water more than I want them to. Doesn't look like they do. Now that I made changes to the seabed there, it's going to cause the water to fluctuate madly. So we're going to hit the play button and we're going to watch. There it goes. The water is going to jiggle and move and ziggle and wiggle. And it might even flood some things, but we're just going to let it run. We're going to let all the flooding go away. Let that calm back down before we do any more terrain or landscaping stuff, because I'm worried that's going to destroy anything I put in. All right, looks like it's calmed down a bit. I'm gonna pause the game again. All right, so what do we want to do here? I think benches. Benches are going to be a good thing to put back here for people to enjoy their life, and I think a path would also be appropriate here. So I'm going to grab my trade school path that I've been using, make sure that my toggling is off, and I'm just going to draw a path to follow this road, I think. All right, I'm gonna turn the water back on. I'm gonna turn the timer back on, because now that I've done some changes to the riverbank, the water's gonna, there it goes. It's gonna like go all creepy and weird. Yeah, tsunami, there we go. It's gonna flood all that. Hopefully it won't damage anything. It'll go away eventually once the water calms down a little bit. Pause the game again, and now let's go through and do our benches. So let's go grab our props. There we go. Benches on the back. that all the professors can go out there and have a smoke when they're done teaching class, because that's what they did when I was in college. And we are all set with the back of the building. We are almost done with this. We need to do some work around this building, and we need to put a fence all the way around the structure to separate it off from the rest of the city. So let me do some trees and some hedgerows and things here, and I will be back with you in just a second. One thing I would like to do to this building is I really don't like this concrete foundation that runs around it. I think it's kind of ugly, and I wish there was some way I can smooth it out. And I'm going to use a little trick where I've downloaded these things called zonable pedestrian roads, and they come with a zonable stone road. They come with a regular, just a pavement. They come with a kind of a stone walk area. They come with a boardwalk, and they come with a bike path with a promenade. And I'm going to use this zonable pedestrian road. And these are actually roads that cars will drive on. So you're going to have to use your imagination a little bit when you're using this, because this is actually a road that the cars will be using, and you're going to have to use some tools if you want to disable vehicles on this road. I don't really care, so I'm not going to disable anything, but I'm going to turn on all my snapping, and I'm going to run this road with Anarchy all the way around the building. And to me, that just looks so much nicer than the ugly old concrete pathway that I had in there originally. So now I can go through here and continue doing my hedgerows and stuff and other decorating, and I will be back with you in just a second. I went with more of the acacia trees, and I put some planters on the side to frame that in, and in the back I made like another little break area where people can come behind the medical center and take a break where they're off duty, have a seat on the benches and things like that, look out over the river, look at the beautiful noisy bridge in the background, and I think this is going to work out pretty well. The last thing we're going to do is drop a fence in all the way around this structure, and to do that I'm going to make it, we've been going kind of fancy anyway, so we're just going to use these planters, and we're going to go nuts with these things and put in a fence all the way around the structure. So here we go. And the last thing that we're going to do is I want to drop in a ferry over here for the citizens to use to get to the university. And I'm going to put the ferry right here. So click on water, click on the ferry, and the ferry is going to go right there like that. And then we're going to bring a road in from here, actually, underneath this bridge, and we're going to connect it together. And I think I'm just going to use a regular old boring 2-lane road because this is not meant to be anything fancy. All right, the ferry is put in. Our first ferry has arrived. I don't think it's actually carrying any people yet because it's kind of a fledgling thing that we just started up, but this ferry system is going to start running up and down the river even more as we build out into the new areas. All right, thank you so much for joining me on this little journey as we've decorated out this amazing School of Engineering and Medical Center. I hope you found this useful and it helped you out with some tips and tricks. All of the mods that I used are going to be down in the description below. We went through quite a few of them. If you enjoyed what you saw, please hit that thumbs up button so I can know that you liked it. And if you don't want to miss any future episodes about the city of Odyssey, subscribe. You'll catch all of my future content that way. Thank you once again. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch it. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.